Happy Monday. It's Sarah Wilson, and what could be funnier than training on distraction and realizing it took you 24 hours longer than you planned to get your training done because of distractions, right? So anyway, sorry for that. For those of you who were looking for that yesterday after I posted that I'd be back last night, and here I am the next day. But thank you for just bearing with me and knowing that life is life, right? But you guys, I hope you had a chance to take a look at the little teaser video that I posted yesterday, which for those of you that haven't seen it, that's a little movie clip from a movie called Up. And in that, clearly what I wanted you to see is that poor little dog got a little bit distracted, right? And so what I think is so funny about that is how certain things just stick with you. And that's one of those things that when we watched that movie years ago with the kids, that squirrel just kind of became synonymous with, oh, oops, I got distracted, right? I forgot what I was doing. I got a little derailed. I got a little sidetracked. And so for those of you that did have a chance to watch the last video that I did, I focused in that one on talking about minding your mind. And I shared how when I forget, I end up in the pit, right? But when I remember, I make myself a contender once again. And so kind of where I wanted to take us today was to really ask ourselves, why is it that I forget? What takes my eye off the prize, so to speak? Why do I forget about the direction that I'm going? Why do I forget about the call on me here, right, to the place of Arvon? Why do I forget the promise, the things that have been spoken over me for my business and for this place that I've been called? Why do I forget the purpose on my heart to, for me, speak life, love, and truth over women? Why do I forget the dream, right? Why do I forget the plan? Why do I forget the goal? And so, you guys, like the dog in that movie clip, what happens, I think, is that we lose our focus when we get distracted. And in my favorite book, there's a story about this fella named Peter that walked on the water, you guys. And, as long as his eyes were fixed on the prize, he was able to do that, right? He was able to walk on water. But the minute that he took his eyes off the prize, took his eyes off the one who called him out on the water in the first place, that was the minute that he began to sink, right? And so what I got to thinking about yesterday, what came to me were the words, do not turn to the right or to the left. Do not turn to the right or to the left. Do not turn to the right or to the left, like blinders, right? And you guys, 23 times I found those words in Scripture. I knew there were a couple of times, but 23. 23 times it says, in some shape, form, or fashion, do not turn to the right or to the left. And you guys, that turning, in every one of those examples that I looked up, that turning or that distraction away from, it was always bad. It never ended well. It always resulted in loss. But the staying, right? The staying and the being steadfast always resulted in good. It was rewarding. It was successful in the end, the staying and the steadfast. And so you guys so often are turning to the right or to the left, right? Ah, squirrel, squirrel, right? Is the result of distraction. We've been distracted. And you guys, we don't necessarily go looking for that distraction, right? Sometimes we do, but we don't always go looking for it. But sometimes just there it is, right? And it catches our eye, it catches our ear, it catches our attention, it catches our heart. And there we are, somehow off the path. And you guys, I remember hearing this years and years ago, and it has served as a reminder to me. I won't tell you I always nail it, because I'm going to share a story with you about a really long season of distraction for me. But I heard that, if the devil can't make you bad, he'll make you busy, right? And you guys, busy, if you kind of write those letters straight down, you make a little acrostic, being under Satan's yoke. You guys, busy isn't so glorious. And yet, we have really kind of made it that way, right? In today's culture, we're overscheduled, we're stretched thin, we're doing way too many things outside of our unique gifts and callings, and we have glorified busy, right? I mean, you ask someone, how are you? Oh, I'm so busy, right? And we wear this thing like some badge of honor. But you guys, there really isn't anything admirable, honorable, glorified about being busy. We want to be productive, but let's think about busy, you guys. And so I was thinking about yesterday, one of my favorite stories about a guy who really held his focus and he refused to look to the right or to the left. And it's the story of a guy named Nehemiah. And in the Word, he's building this wall. Just to give you a little background, he's rebuilding this wall, and he's really doing a great job of it, right? He's doing it well. And his frenemies, right? If you've ever seen that, use that word, his frenemies. The book didn't really say they were enemies until later. Sometimes people are a little disgusted. But his frenemies found out, and they sent word to him, hey, come meet us. Come on over here. Come join us and do this thing. And you guys, in Nehemiah 6:3, this is the word that Nehemiah sent back to the people who were trying to call him down and away from the path that Nehemiah was on and that Nehemiah had been called to. And so he sent them this word, and he said, you know what? I am carrying out a pretty great project right here. I'm doing a good work right here, and I cannot come down. I can't come down. He said, why should I leave the work and come down to you, right? Why should the work stop while I get down and come over here and do this thing that you're doing over here to the left, right? And so you guys, 4 or 5 times, they kept coming at him. They kept sending the distraction, right? The same message over and over. Hey, Nehemiah, come on, come join us over here. And every time Nehemiah replied in the same way, I'm doing a good thing here, and I cannot come down. And you guys, here's what I know to be true, and I know you do too. Y'all, the world, people, other people, are going to always have plans for you. They're going to always have plans for you. And if you don't know his plans for you, right? And we don't endeavor like Nehemiah did to keep our eyes fixed until. And when I say until, I mean until. And I don't know what's on the other side of until to you, but I do remember the day in Cecilia Stoll's living room in Route 66 when she said, will you do this until? And you guys, there's something about that, about knowing that I am in it and on it until it's done. And you guys, if we can't endeavor to keep our eyes like that and to commit to doing the thing that we've been called to do until, the chances that you and I are going to end up in left field or in right field, it's a pretty solid bet, right? If we don't keep our eyes on the prize. And so if we're going to live what I like to call the best yes life, and if you guys have not read The Best Yes by Lisa TerKeurst, it's an incredible book. If you struggle in saying the word no, right? If you struggle, if your plate is too full and you find yourself uttering yes to things that you're not super excited about, that you don't have time for, that you know really aren't in your skill set and in your gift set, and they don't bring you life and they don't bring you joy. It might be that you're just doing it to please people, right? So if that sounds like something you need, you guys, that book will be freeing to you. But sometimes that's what we have to do, right? If we're going to live this best yes life, we're going to have to lay down our people pleasing. And I remember hearing these words from a woman many decades beyond me and so much wisdom beyond me say, we cannot do 1,000 things to the glory of God, but we can do a few, right? But you guys, we got to know what our few are and what, 999 95 aren't ours to do. And so, you guys, the enemy's schemes, here's what I'm thinking. Two main ones. One is that we would just stay in what I call default or drift mode. You know, and when we're in default mode, and what I mean by that is we just kind of drift with the wind, with the breeze, with the sails, wherever life takes us, that's where we land. And when we're in that mode, we probably never even know there is more to life, right? So I think that's the first place that he would just love to keep us in default and in drift, and life is life, and I'll get up and we'll see where the day goes, right? But the second thing, for those of us who I think grasp that there is something more to life, and we choose to go after a life of design, what the enemy will use next is distraction. It's distraction. And you guys, what happens in distraction is that we forget there's more to life. And you guys, I just wanted to share from my heart. And you guys know I'm always, when I do these, it's always the word that I need for myself. So preaching to myself in this. But I wanted to share, a little bit of a season of distraction. And for those of you that don't know my story, about 22 months ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. And literally the morning after, as my husband's put some quiet time in prayer, the Lord spoke very clearly to him that this was a distraction. And I wish I could tell you that I remembered that every day for the last 22 months, but I haven't. And I found myself incredibly distracted from the call on my life, from the promises of the Lord, from my dreams, from my goals, from his plans. And you guys, here's the thing. I don't know what's got you distracted. I don't know what's thrown you off of your path. But I know that when we take our eyes off the prize and off the promise, what happens is that we lose perspective. We lose purpose a lot of times. And instead of being others focused, which is what I believe we're all called to do, that's always his plan, is that we would be others focused. But when we're distracted, we lose that. We lose our others focusedness, and we become very self-focused. And you guys, when we're self-focused, I believe that puts us on the fast track to discouragement, because being all up in ourselves never really feels good. And it doesn't feel good because it was never part of our original blueprint, right? It is not part of our design. We weren't made to be self-focused. And you guys, sometimes things happen, right? Sometimes things happen to us. That happened to me. Some things happen to you, right? In some capacity in life and business and all of these things. But at some point, we have to decide, we have to choose the distraction or the destination, right? The distraction, squirrel, 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 or the destination, right? And you guys, we can keep choosing every day to relive the same day 671 times. By the way, that's the math on 22 months. Or we can choose to create a new day, right? We can keep living the same one over and over when we choose that distraction, or we can choose to create a new one, right? A new day and a new way. And so you guys, when we're distracted, what happens is that we lose priorities. Well, I mean, we just lose them. Like, I'm so distracted, I don't even remember why I'm here, or what you called me to, or what I said at the beginning of the month was my goal, or oh, you mean back when I said I was going to retire my husband this year and give him choice. Like, y'all, we get distracted, right? But this is the point where we have to let God reset our priorities. So if you find yourself distracted, you guys, if you know that's where you are, that's what we got to do. We got to reset our priority button. And so just a couple of questions I want to ask you guys, some things to get real on, because y'all know me, that's what we do, right? Where have you been distracted, right? Where are you distracted? Where in your life, where in your relationships, where in your your business, your finances, your health. Where have you been distracted? You know, where have you taken your eyes off the prize, right? When did things get a little squirrely? Why? Why, you guys? What happened? What happened that triggered that distraction? Where was the starting point? What's the lie that you've believed, right? What's the lie that you've believed? Because when we continue to choose the distraction over the destination, it's because there's some lie that we're telling ourselves and we've just bought it, right? Hook, line, and sinker. So, you guys, why did you look to the left or the right? Why? What took your eyes off the prize and why did you go looking, right? What promise did you forget? What promise did you forget? You guys, we all know what to do. I think it's never about the what. It's not about the what. You guys, we know what to do. The real question is why aren't we doing it, right? Why aren't we here? Why aren't the blinders up? Why did I get sidetracked? What is it that I forgot? So you guys, it's time. If you've been distracted, it's time to let him start stirring something back up in you. Start awakening something back up in you again. Because that's his job. And isn't that exciting? Like, he stirs, right? He stirs. He starts the thing. He starts the good thing, you guys. Our role in that, our job in that is to act, right? We join him in the doing, right? In the meantime, in the journey, in the process, we join with him to finish. So he starts, we join, we partner in order to finish, right? And I'm going to come back to that, you guys. I want to really camp out on the whole starting and finishing and whose job that is and whose job it isn't. But here's the thing. Some of us never really act. Some of us never really, and I could preach a whole nother sermon on being all in, but some of us never really act. Some of us never really move because we think the finishing is on us. We think the finishing is on us. And I want you guys to sit in that for a second. And I want to ask you guys, how many of you have ever in your business self-sabotaged because of a fear of I can't finish? I don't want to start a new consultant because I'm afraid I can't help her finish. I don't want to go into qualification. There you go, Rachel, right? I don't want to go into qualification because I don't have the team to finish. I don't want to register for that trip because, heck, who am I? I can't finish. Right? Anybody? Yeah, this is what we do, right? Because we are messed up and confused on whose job it is to finish. And you guys, I want to read you two of my favorite verses that came to me yesterday as I was really sitting in that truth. Philippians 1:6 says, and I am confident of this very thing, that he who began a good work in you, he will complete it. You guys, he is the author and the finisher. He is the originator and the wrap-it-upper, okay? And Galatians 6:9, one of my favorites, and this was my jam. This is what I held to. This is what was my screensaver on my phone when I was finishing Nation almost 3 years ago. We were qualifying 3 years ago this month, and it was Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And I want to take you back to a couple of words in both of those verses that I really want you to get. He starts and finishes, right? That Philippians passage said, he who began is he who will complete, right? He starts it, he finishes it. But the Galatians verse says, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. You guys, our job, right? He starts, he finishes, but we join in and we don't give in, right? That's our role. We just join in. We just come alongside in what he is already doing. And our job is just to stay until, right? It is to not give in. It's to not grow weak, to not grow weary, to do it until. And so you guys, it is time, if you have been distracted, I've been distracted, that we get strong. We get to work. Guys, we get to work, because if we don't, you know what happens from a point of distraction? We're distracted, but then we get discouraged. And if we stay discouraged long enough, it's disengaged. It's out of the game. And I don't know about you guys, but I am not done. I'm not done. And neither are you. So, two main discouragements. One is comparison. We could talk all day long about comparison, especially in the place of Arbonne and in the place of social media, which didn't exist really, by the way, when I started my business 11 years ago. But it's rampant. And if you look to the left or to the right, you do not have to look very far, right? To be distracted and to find yourself in a place of comparison. But you guys, so often what we do is that we compare our start, right, to their finish. And we forget when we do that, we are totally forgetting and discounting that person's meantime, that person's process, that person's journey, and all that had to happen from their point A to their point B. And by golly, we're at A and we just want their B already, right? The second distraction that I think, or discouragement that really can pull us out of the game, is this lack of progress, right? It's this lack of progress. And that's because we focus on how far we have to go instead of how far we've come. And you guys, when we do that, what we're doing is we're focusing on lack instead of focusing on enough, right? We are grumbling instead of ingratitude, right? Lack versus enough, grumble versus gratitude. That's what's going on here when we're looking at and focusing on this lack of progress. We just, I'm not where I want to be yet. I'm not where I thought I'd be yet. I'm not where she is. What's wrong with me, right? And we get discouraged. And you guys, gratitude is the way to enough. Gratitude is the way to enough. And by the way, this rocked my world. I always thought that the opposite of scarcity was abundance. And then one day I learned that the opposite of scarcity is actually enough. And you guys, Thanksgiving, right? Praise, gratitude, thanksgiving always precedes the miracle. It always precedes the miracle. So if that's where you are and that's what you need, get thankful. Get thankful, you guys. Let's put on some, as my friend Carla calls them, perspectacles. Like, and I was going to put on, hang on, I got them. They're right here on my desk. They're really dirty, but those are my Petter glasses. These are my perspectacles, okay? Sometimes they're my vision goggles too. They're whatever I need them to be in the moment. And they're really dirty and I can't see. So anyway, you guys get the point, right? But we got to put on our perspectacles and we've got to shift our perspective, because if we don't learn to really navigate our discouragements, right? If we don't learn how to handle those things, get a grip on them, know how to get ourselves out of them, we're going to find ourselves sidelined. You know, we're going to find ourselves on the bench, disengaged from the game. And so you guys, some more hard questions for us. You know, where are you discouraged? Where in your business are you discouraged? What's got you discouraged? What might have you disappointed? Where did you lose perspective? Where did you lose perspective? Would it be true that maybe there was some comparison that kind of led you to that? Or a focus on a lack of progress, a focus on lack versus a focus of being thankful for what you do have, being thankful for that enough. What did you do to lean towards lack? You know, what happened, right? What happened when I leaned that way, when I looked that way? So you guys, what areas of life and business Do you maybe need to practice some gratitude? Where are some places that you need to get just flat out thankful, right? So here's your homework for the week. You guys know we always try to give you three little bite-sized pieces of homework that kind of focus. If you focus on if you hit all of them, it'll really help just to build a really balanced business. So we focus on building me, right? Building me, which is growing me, which is personal growth, right? What's going to make me a better me. Growing our personal business, right? So my personal direct business, and then also growing my team, because we always want to work on being a better leader for the people that have been called to us. So your homework, number 1, grow me. Grow me. All right. So in grow me, here's what I want you to do. And I'll type these beneath the video too, but I want you to identify your distractions. Okay. Just honest inventory. Where am I distracted? You know, what have I allowed to derail me? What do I need to ignore so that I can restore? What needs to be a no so that I can go? Right? What needs to be a Nehemiah, I am doing a good thing here. I cannot come down. You guys, what needs a no so that I can go? So that I can go until, right? So second part is grow your business, right? Grow your personal business. The homework there, here's what I want you thinking about. And I want you to write out this sentence, and I want you to really sit in it. And I want you to fill in the blank at the end as it comes to you. But here's the thing. If you really believed that, if I really believed that God was with me and for me, what in my personal business would I get to work on? If I really believed that he was with me and for me, what would I get to work on? Okay. So as you prepare to close the month, we've got 5 days left, I think. This is the blank I want you to fill in. Since God is with me, he's for me, he finishes what he starts, I cannot fail. This week, I will blank, right? Okay? He's with you, he's for you. It's done, right? What he starts, he finishes. It's done. You can't fail. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And then lastly, you guys, under grow your team, our homework in that area. Little more honest inventory. I want you to identify any place that you've been discouraged. You've been discouraged about the way things are with your team. I want you to sit in that, and I want you to shift that perspective. I want you to do what you got to do to move here and here from a place of lack to a place of enough. From a grumbling spirit to a grateful spirit. And you guys, I want you, this is the physical homework in that, I want you to write notes of gratitude, of thanksgiving, of praise to at least 3 people on your team. And I want you to celebrate their enoughness, right? I want you to celebrate how far they've come. And I want you to speak those words to them. You guys, if you're a team of 1, I want to say this too. Don't skip that step. Okay? Write one of those notes to yourself. And use the other 2 to write them to 2 of your future leaders. Okay? So I love you guys. I'm praying over the next few days. And really until that we would not look to the right or to the left. That our eyes would be steady on the prize, with the promise always at the forefront of our minds. So, love you guys. Happy close.